Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Scooter R. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Looking back on Friday's episode, I definitely should have been more explicit about how Tesla will benefit from Canada's new EV tariff deal with China. And as we know, at least initially, the companies that stand to benefit will be manufacturers that already have North American certification. And not only that, but North American distribution, which means companies like Tesla, Volvo, and Polestar. For context, Tesla imported 44,000 cars into Canada from China in 2023, the last full year before the 100% tariff rate. As part of this new deal, Transport Canada will certify new Chinese EVs within just 8 weeks. And yes, this will give Tesla more supply chain flexibility, allowing it to export more cars from Shanghai to Canada that presumably have lower costs. So we'll see what Tesla does with pricing in Canada, but it's likely that Tesla makes up a large portion of this 49,000 unit quota that, remember, is expected to grow to 70,000 in the coming years.
Actually, this one's public. So one thing that we're thinking about is, okay, like we're building this human emulator with MacroHard. How do we deploy it? Because you actually need, like, if we want to deploy 1 million human emulators, we need 1 million computers. How do we do that? And the answer showed up 2 days later in the form of a Tesla computer, because those things are actually very capital efficient, as it turns out. And we can run potentially like our model and the full computer that a human would otherwise work at on the Tesla computer for much cheaper than you would on a VM on AWS or Oracle or whatever, or even just buying hardware from NVIDIA. That car computer is actually much more capital efficient. And so it enables us to assume that we can deploy much faster at a much higher scale. And so we've adjusted our expectations for that, basically.
Are you basically able to just bootstrap off of the car network?
So that's one of the potential solutions, basically. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, we want 1 million VMs. There's like 4 million Tesla cars in North America alone. And like, let's say 2/3 or half of them have hardware 4. And like somewhere between 70 and 80% of the time, they're sitting there idle, probably charging. We can just potentially pay, and they have, networking, they have cooling, they have power. We can probably just pay owners to lease time off their car and let us run like a human emulator, Digital Optimus right on it. And they get, their lease paid for, and we get a full human emulator we can put to work.
That was Suleiman Gori, a member of the technical staff at XAI. We know the idea of Optimus is to take physical tasks that humans can do, and then the robot will do those same tasks for a fraction of the cost. So this digital Optimus that Suleiman was talking about is doing the same thing, but with everything that humans do digitally. So think of a human sitting at a computer and all of the different mouse and keyboard inputs. XAI is currently working to emulate all of that so they can deploy in basically any situation that a human is in working at a computer. So this distributed compute idea that Elon's been talking about now for a few years may be a lot closer than some of us were expecting. And yes, I think this is potentially big news, and we have some indication that maybe that was not supposed to be public, as Suleiman just posted this morning he's left XAI. Nothing but love to my former team and coworkers. But I'll just say, after that interview, there's no way he would leave XAI. He very clearly loved working there and loved working for Elon, and knew that the XAI team was on to greatness. So it's just speculation on my part, but I'd be pretty confident saying that he was likely fired by XAI for some things he said in that interview. One of those being this new human emulator path to deployment on millions of Tesla vehicles. And he said that XAI has already been testing these emulators internally as if they were human employees. So there's just one more synergy between XAI and Tesla that we may see in the coming years. I'd guess Tesla owners would have the option to opt in or out to allow this use for your car's computer, but it would come with some form of payment from XAI to use the computer to run these human emulators, since all of the infrastructure is already there. And the way Suleiman talked about it wasn't some far off idea, it sounded like a legit roadmap that XAI was planning on. So no guarantees here, as XAI is still testing these emulators, but if they figure it out, Tesla vehicles may be the path to deployment at scale, meaning Tesla owners could have a revenue stream for allowing XAI to use their cars when they're not in use. And the truth is, I could do an entire video just on these emulators alone. So this is a part of what MacroHard is working on, which could revolutionize things like data entry, customer support, research, coding, software as a service, browsing the web, and so on. So Optimus to replace physical tasks and Digital Optimus to replace digital tasks. So yes, they're both still in very early stages, but I would argue that the path forward is actually pretty clear at this point. And of course, I have no idea what type of payments Tesla car owners would have, but Suleiman did say that lease payments could be paid for. So I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty attractive proposition to become a Tesla owner in the future. This Cybercab was spotted in Chicago out doing some testing, but you'll see that the rear camera does indeed have a self-cleaner. You can see liquid, presumably from a camera sprayer, dripping down the back of the trunk, which yes, I think would be very nice to have as standard across all Tesla vehicles. We also had Art Guajardo sharing this video, which was one of the first times we've seen a Cybercab out in the wild without side view mirrors. And this is one category where hopefully we'll get some new federal standards so each individual state can't have their own rules for registration, operation, and inspections of these side view mirrors. Josh West was able to get some great footage of a Cybercab driving around in Austin, also without side view mirrors.
Check out those new tail lights. So the brake lights are two individual lights in the spoiler. There we go, nice and close. Beautiful, looks good. Looks good. We got some kind of lights down in the bottom here, brake lights below. He's probably checking me out in the camera. All in the lot where Robotaxi operates out of. I came through here like several weeks ago. This lot was empty, and now it is filled with an absolute ton of Robotaxi ready vehicles. So check this out, guys. Look at all of these Robotaxis. Like, as far as you can see, these guys are getting ready to drop the hammer on Austin. I can tell you lately, when I've been calling Robotaxi, it's all been, you know, oh, you gotta wait, hang tight. But not for long by the looks of it.
And hopefully we do get that influx of new vehicles soon, because Joe Tetmeyer on Sunday said he was in the heart of Austin but could not get a Robotaxi due to high demand. So we don't know for sure if those vehicles will all be deployed as Robotaxis, but I think there's at least a chance. According to the Robotaxi tracker, which is not official, Austin is up to 46 vehicles in the Robotaxi fleet. We also have the official NHTSA incident reports now added to the site. These figures are for both San Francisco and Austin, so for Q4, October there was 2 incidents, November had 4, and December had 3. And you'll see most of those were actually involving cyclists, but the majority of them resulted in no injuries. Only one resulted in a minor injury. But unfortunately, with most of these minor incidents, a lot of the information is redacted. So a lot of times all we get is that a cyclist was involved, no one was injured, the car was going 0 miles an hour, the airbags were not deployed, and the car was not towed. And further complicating these reports is that it does not tell us who was actually at fault. But I think it's fair to say if most of the time the cars are going 0 miles an hour, then it might actually be the cyclist who's at fault. And Ethan did say he includes all ADS and ADAS, filtered by the ones indicated to be commercial. But I just wanted to make it clear these incidents do not necessarily mean that Tesla was at fault. And further, based on the information we get, we have good reason to believe that Tesla may not be at fault in a majority of these instances. And the Cybercab was just spotted in Massachusetts, which now makes for 5 states, in addition to New York, Texas, California, and Illinois. Devin shared 2 very impressive clips of FSD, so watch and enjoy.
I got delayed all that Seattle stuff, and then they just go Seattle to Victoria.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Good job, car.
Whoa, that's gonna get a thing.
Whoa.
Whoa, that was impressive.
That was impressive.
Dang.
Whoa.
That was...
How did it know the perfect amount of swing?
I have no idea.
Elon had much to say about silicon over the weekend. He said now that the AI5 chip design is in good shape, Tesla will restart work on Dojo 3. Then he put out a line for recruiting saying if you're interested in working on what will be the highest volume chips in the world, get in touch. Elon said solving AI5 was existential to Tesla, which is why I had to focus both teams on that chip, and I've personally spent every Saturday for several months working on it. This will be a very capable chip, roughly Hopper class as single system on chip and Blackwell as dual, but it costs peanuts and uses much less power. Now that AI5 is looking good, we have some headroom to work on Dojo 3 too. At this point, I'll just say this is all changing very quickly for Tesla. It was only 5 months ago when Elon said this. Once it became clear all paths converged to AI6, I had to shut down Dojo and make some tough personnel choices, as Dojo 2 was an evolutionary dead end. Dojo 3 arguably lives on in the form of a large number of AI6 system on chips on a single board. So to me, it seems like this resurrection of Dojo 3 really is just Tesla having time to focus on AI6 since AI5 is in such a good place, and working on integrating a large number of these AI6 inference chips that will be able to be used for training as well. Meaning Dojo 3 is not some new chip that Tesla is designing on its own from scratch or even reviving from the prior Dojo program. Rather, Dojo 3 is simply an architecture or a philosophy using AI6. And it's likely AI6 where these lines between inference compute and training compute start to be blurred for Tesla. Back to this weekend, Elon said our AI5 chip design is almost done and AI6 is in early stages, but there will be AI7, 8, and 9, aiming for a 9-month design cycle. Now, a lot of people are taking that to mean every 9 months there's going to be a new chip in the vehicles, but personally, I do not think that's the case. One, because Elon said design cycle, meaning every 9 months a new chip is designed. So first of all, that's the goal. That doesn't mean it's exactly how it's going to play out. And once you have the chip designed, there's a lot of other steps that need to happen to actually get that into production. And depending on that chip design, the time it takes to get into production will vary as well. And I think further confirming my thesis would be this. Elon just said AI4 by itself will achieve self-driving safety levels very far above human. AI5 will make the cars almost perfect and greatly enhance Optimus. AI6 will be for Optimus and data centers. AI7 and Dojo 3 will be space-based AI compute. A few things. I would say AI4 achieving unsupervised is not a guarantee. This is going to boil down to the regulatory environment. But to me, it would make sense that if the data shows AI4 is capable of being multiple times safer than a human, then the regulator should be on board allowing that to carry out unsupervised. And let's not forget, the Cybercab is going to launch this year with AI4. We're not going to see AI5 until late next year, late 2027, likely at the earliest. So yes, I'm confident saying AI4 will eventually unlock unsupervised. But if AI5 is what's going to make the cars almost perfect, then why would Tesla replace that 9 months later with AI6? It wouldn't be required. So I think what's likely to happen is when AI5 starts shipping late 2027, that will be the chip in the fleet for years to come. And this would seem to confirm that AI6 is going to be focused on Optimus and data centers, which again is in line with those lines being blurred between inference and compute. And AI7 and Dojo 3 will be space-based AI compute. And I still think Dojo 3, from a very oversimplified standpoint, will be an architecture or an ethos using AI6 and AI7 in tandem for training compute. And for Hardware 3 owners, I would say what I said a few months ago. It's still too early for Tesla to make a decision about this. Until Tesla solves unsupervised with AI4, it's not going to know what it needs to do for Hardware 3 cars. Meaning, until unsupervised actually ships in the wild, Tesla's not going to be able to answer your questions about what Hardware 3 will be replaced with. On that point, Elon said necessity is the mother of invention. The Tesla AI team is is epically hardcore, no one can match Tesla's real-world AI. That was sharing this post from Ming saying Tesla has patented a mathematical cheat code that forces cheap 8-bit chips to run elite 32-bit AI models and rewrites the rules of silicon. And rather than me trying to explain how this works, CERN Basher beat me to it. The fancy math part of this patent, ROPE, Rotary Positional Encoding, is AI remembering the order and position of things. It's like giving each item a special tag based on angles and math. But doing this very precisely usually needs a lot of compute power, 32-bit precision, which is like super detailed numbers. The hack? Tesla figured out how to do this high precision stuff on cheaper, low power hardware, which is 8-bit, which is like rougher, simpler numbers. Another way to think of it is rounding these numbers to a shorter decimal point. Part of that is done by squeezing big numbers into smaller ones logarithmically, like turning a million into 6 because the log of a million is 6. It saves space. So in short, this means the car or the robot can see and remember the world for longer, like 30 seconds without losing track, without needing a massive battery or fancy chips. It's more efficient, so Optimus can work for hours on low power and cars can run AI on the edge right in the vehicle without sending data to a big server. And guess what? It wasn't just one patent, but rather Tesla had 5 patents published on the same day, January 15th this year. They all share overlapping inventors and basically identical architectural diagrams, showing things like cars and trucks connected via networks to cloud servers and databases for AI processing and training. And this is a perfect data point to back up what I just said on X. I said over the next few years, we'll likely see more breakthroughs on the software side than we will on the hardware side, specifically when it comes to neural net training. So yes, AI 5, 6, and 7, that will all push things forward significantly, but we cannot overlook the fact that Tesla owns the entire software stack and is pushing forward all of these patents on the software side that are custom built for Tesla's specific applications. And as SETI Park said right here, each patent solves a specific bottleneck. Together, they enable something that shouldn't be possible, running a transformer-class AI on 8-bit production silicon. These patents ensure that evolution is possible. They describe techniques for running algorithms that don't exist yet on hardware that already exists. Meaning the silicon can stay the same, but the brain keeps improving. And there was one phrase in all 4 patents: product life cycles for automobiles and robotics can span decades across several generations of algorithmic development. And this was from Ming in the post that Elon shared. Finally, baking this math into the silicon secures Tesla's strategic independence. It decouples the company from NVIDIA's CUDA ecosystem and enables a dual foundry strategy with both Samsung and TSMC to mitigate supply chain risks. This creates a deliberate oversupply of compute, potentially turning its idle fleet and unsold chips into a distributed inference cloud that rivals AWS in efficiency, which ties right back to the Suleiman XAI interview. And no, that was not just some AI slop. Elon replied to that post saying, pretty much. But again, I want to pause real quick and just remind everybody what Elon said 6 months ago. Tesla Dojo AI training computer is making progress. We start bringing Dojo 2 online later this year. It takes 3 major iterations for new tech to be great. Dojo 2 is good, but Dojo 3 will be great. That was June of last year. Then about a month after that, Elon said that Dojo 2 was an evolutionary dead end. And fast forward another few months, and now Dojo 3 is coming back in a different form. So my point is right now, everything Elon is saying about all of this are just the plans right now. But clearly this space is changing and evolving incredibly rapidly. So just know a lot of this is subject to change, and anytime Tesla has breakthroughs on the technical side, on the software side, that of course might change what their plans are on the hardware side as well. Back to AI 4, somebody said, I'm waiting for the AI 5 chip to buy a Tesla. That's the only version that'll be legally unsupervised FSD. Elon replied to that saying AI 4 will far exceed human safety, which again, I think it would be fair to assume that Elon believes AI 4 will unlock unsupervised when it gets there and when regulations allow it across the country. And one more time, once all of this happens, then we will get answers on what's going to happen with hardware 3. I, like Tesla, said anyone using AI 4 right now knows that better hardware is not needed for unsupervised driving. It's incredibly good right now. To which Elon said, yup. So it could not be any more clear in Elon's mind right now, AI-4 will be more than capable of solving unsupervised. Nick Patane shared what Elon said, saying a Tesla Terafab sounds like a good idea, to which Elon said seems to be the only option for super high volume. And Phil Beisel said what we've been arguing the past few months. TSMC and Samsung can handle conservative growth through 2028 to 2029, but Elon's vision explodes demand to 20 million vehicles a year, billions of robots long term, and compute needs dwarfing current global supply. So the expectation, AI-5 ramps in 2027, covered by TSMC and Samsung, AI-6 in 2028 at Samsung's dedicated factory in Texas. But then by 2029-2030, the shortfall hits hard, and that's when in-house production becomes inevitable for control, cost, security, and insane scale. Probably no way around it. To which Elon replied with the target emoji, which is exactly why I'm saying if Elon's not just making these comments to pressure TSMC and Samsung, we should hear about a groundbreaking for this Terafab this year. That's because it's going to take Tesla anywhere from 3 to 5 years to actually get that fab into production. Meaning, if Elon's not saying all of this as negotiating tactics, we should get a groundbreaking this year. Clive Chan, who actually used to be the Dojo lead at Tesla, said Dojo 1 was ultra ambitious and really pushed a lot of technologies: packaging, power delivery, system design, clock distribution, even number formats. But execution and focus could have been better. If Dojo 3 is anything like the ideas floated around the office years ago, it'll be nuts. It'll be interesting to see if things move faster when Elon's focus is on the chips. Go, 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 and good luck. And Elon replied to that saying yes on all counts has to be done to scale space AI. So if for whatever reason you still needed more confirmation that Tesla would be heavily involved in the data centers in space, there you go. It won't just be Tesla providing solar panels, but providing the compute as well. So in short, Tesla is continuing to streamline its entire chip program, both on the hardware and the software side. So rather than Tesla having one chip for inference and one chip for training, Tesla's just going to have one chip that does both, and then they're going to make a bunch of those. And a lot of the breakthroughs and pushing forward more efficiency will happen on the software side. Companies like Ford, GM, and Toyota aren't designing their own chips. They're buying from NVIDIA, paying all of those margins, buying these general purpose chips. So from a first principle standpoint, that's always going to be an inferior approach. But Tesla's been working on things like chip design now for nearly a decade. And further, as we always say, they actually have the AI talent to do it. And today we just got news. TSMC's bid to turn the Arizona desert into its #2 production nexus is exceeding expectations. Chris Miller, the author of the book The Chip War, said the US could go from 0 to 25% of global chip production by 2035. All of this has profound implications for energy production, grid reliability, national defense, employment, GDP and economic output, supply chain resiliency, trade wars, and the list goes on. Construction on TSMC's second fab is also complete, with production expected in 2028, while work on Fab 3 started April last year. And just last week, it acquired another 900 acres of land and hinted at plans to build even more capacity. This to further expand its Arizona supercluster. And TSMC just said it'll now build at least 5 new semiconductor facilities in America as part of this newly announced trade deal. The deal, announced by the U.S. Department of Commerce, will see America cut Taiwan's baseline tariff rate from 20% to 15%. In return, Taiwan has pledged that its tech companies will invest $250 billion in the U.S. So it's not like the companies Tesla is relying on for chips, Samsung and TSMC are just standing still and not increasing their output. They are very clearly both still expanding, but Elon still thinks it will not be enough. And to top it all off, Elon said the Colossus 2 supercomputer for Grok is now operational, the first gigawatt training cluster in the world, upgrades to 1.5 gigawatt in April. Many Model Y performance reservation holders in Canada are having their delivery timelines pushed back by a few months. Some were expecting delivery as soon as February, but they're having their timelines pushed back as late as July. As of now, Tesla has not shared any official reasoning for why. Tesla Charging said the Tesla Diner is our highest usage supercharger in the world, already delivering 43,000 sessions or 1.5 gigawatt hours each month. Max from Tesla said that's already 18 sessions per stall per day across 80 stalls. The food and operations are only getting better. We're always learning and will apply these learnings to future supercharger amenities. We have yet another company, the Pi Safe Supercharger, white labeling Tesla superchargers. This company's in Idaho. And so far, I'd have to say they're the ones with my favorite design on the superchargers. Isaac French is the man behind this privately owned supercharger, saying it opens up a whole new lane of traffic in our effort to revitalize the town, which is 2 hours from an interstate or major city or airport. And he said the design is the native tree species found in our little town. Elon said, I have not sold stock for about 3 years and bought $1 billion of Tesla stock last year. And no change in Tesla stock today as the markets were closed. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.